Hi guys, so let's now check out the major evaluative points regarding comparative advantage. Let's go. Number one, first up, the impact of exchange rates on comparative advantage. Well, of course, exchange rates and their changes can influence the price of imports and exports quite dramatically. So when you have exchange rate volatility, that really can distort comparative advantage. So that's a big point. It can really influence the competitiveness of given countries, and therefore how important is comparative advantage given that this isn't actually considered. Comparative advantage, after all, was established at a period where there was a system of fixed exchange rates. Now we have a lot of exchange rate volatility, so therefore, does it actually work? Does comparative advantage fit into this model of floating exchange rates that developed economies across the world actually utilise? Number two, is competitive advantage more important than comparative advantage? So whether it's about unit labour costs, whether it's about increasing productivity, whether it's about non-price competitive factors such as quality and the differentiating aspects of those goods. So that's a further point to consider that, because we've seen that comparative advantage just relies on that assumption of two goods between two countries. Now, therefore, what about the quality? Number three, well, we've started touching on that there, okay, but oversimplistic assumptions. Two goods, two countries, perfect factor mobility, constant returns to scale, no impediments to trade, no externalities. Well, some countries clearly do produce their exports with externalities. Just look at China and why Trump has got so upset with the Chinese in recent times there, okay? So how relevant is comparative advantage based on the globalized world that we actually now live in, and the degree of non-price competitive factors that actually exist? Number four, comparative advantage seems to highlight the counterproductive nature of protectionism, and that you can reap big gains in global efficiency or efficiency between two countries when they engage in trade. But of course, just coming back to those oversimplistic assumptions, we just mentioned that point about externalities there, and that some countries do not consider the full range of costs involved in producing their goods. So yeah, it's another interesting one. Number five. All right, number five, this is a really juicy one. Increasingly digital world. Look at streaming services like Netflix, Amazon Prime Video. Look at the actual digital resources that are bought and consumed around the world. So this increasingly digital world, this isn't based really on labour intensity. So who actually possesses the actual comparative advantage for these types of goods? I don't know. Do you know? I don't know. So what do you think about that? You know, does comparative advantage actually work here? Or do these services actually need to be close to the actual market that they're providing for, whether it's services like Spotify or so on, okay? And then number six, have a look, see if you've got any sort of normative statement in your essay question on comparative advantage. It might be something like saying it's the main driver of economic trade or international trade. So have a look for something like that where it's saying, yes, it is the most important factor. Most important to who? When? Well, certainly not if exchange rates are being manipulated, because it distorts comparative advantage. All right, so have a look at your question very carefully there. See if you can break down a normative term in there, and you'll be able to really question that point. Great stuff. We'll leave it there. See you next time.